Hi, everybody. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas, Texas on Monday, October the 27th. And welcome to our commentary. Before we get to the Argentina story, I want to talk a little bit about that. Let me just tell you that I have a post over at the American Thinker today, Monday morning, where I talk about Obamacare and what I think needs to be done, or one of the things that needs to be done to make it about healthcare, not something else. Well, some of you may remember before Obamacare, you had all these choices in healthcare policies. And many self employed people or single people or, you know, people who didn't have children usually, you could buy these policies. Even some families bought these policies that were kind of like catastrophic in nature, meaning you bought policies that would cover you in the deep end. You know, if you had a major problem, they cover you. But there was a lot of out of pocket things you pay yourself. Go to the doctor, get some injections. You know, your kid has allergy, you take him in. Those kinds of things you cover yourself rather than having, the insurance company pay for everything. It's sort of like somebody was giving me the example of your car insurance. Your car insurance doesn't pay for the oil change. Your car insurance doesn't pay for, if you need to replace the radiator or whatever. It covers you for the major things. Okay. And it's the same thing here with health insurance. And I think that's where we went wrong. And what we're going to have to go back to is more choices so that consumers have more choices, more policies that fit their needs rather than having this one policy that fits everybody approach. I think that's one of the reasons why the costs have gone up so much. Basically, it comes down to this. And I heard an economist one time say this, and he's exactly right. You got to get more people paying for their health insurance, meaning not so much their insurance, but their coverage and the things they use. So when you go to the doctor, you're writing a check or you're paying for this or that. And that way, that's how you bring down costs. But when the insurance company pays everything or the plan pays everything, that doesn't drive up costs. That, in fact, that does drive up the cost. So, we just need to get back to a time of more choices in healthcare. Okay, you're always going to have, situations where you have to have an insurance policy for something major. That's what you buy it for. But you don't buy it for the simple stuff. And I think that's how we can control costs. If we can get back to that, we also have to really basically get back to the way Obamacare was before the pandemic, because it was during the pandemic that the Democrats brought in all of these people and put them in Obamacare. And that is largely responsible. It turned out to be good news for the insurance companies because they have a bunch of people paying premiums. In some cases, as I understand, I didn't know this, but I heard this, that some people don't even know they have policies because they were just signing up people or putting into the plan. So we have to take a look at it. I know the Democrats are talking about these subsidies, and we may have to extend the subsidies for maybe a year just to transition to something new. But I think eventually we're going to have to basically scrap Obamacare, keep a couple of things. We got to keep, obviously, the pre-existing conditions. If somebody has a pre-existing condition, they should be able to buy insurance. But you can have, special plans for people with that situation. You're also going to have some plan that covers, for example, people under certain let's say the poverty line. And you can take care of that by simply giving these people tax credits. But I believe for the most part, we have to scrap as many of the subsidies as we can and get back more in a private sector healthcare approach where we let the doctors and the patient worry about the plan. Okay, right now, nobody seems to worry about the plan because somebody's paying the bill. And that's, what can I say? That's not the best way. So something's got to be done. And to simply blame it on Trump or blame it on Republicans or blame it on people who don't want to extend the subsidies, that's just demagoguery. That's not really going to fix anything. We've got to come up with alternatives to what we have right now. Now, let's talk about Argentina, because that was a great day in Argentina Sunday. They had an election down in Argentina. And honestly, I didn't know which way it was going to go. Because I don't know how reliable these polls are. And I mean, sometimes they're not reliable here. So I didn't know honestly where to go for any idea of what was going to happen. But President Milei, who is turning out to be a really interesting character, he decided to basically put it on the line and in a sense have a midterm. And he came out winning, doing quite well. He came out winning, doing quite well, and he's now politically stronger than he was before. He has more political clout now than before, and this will give him the opportunity to continue with the reforms. There's a lot of reforms going on in Argentina, reforms that need to happen. Those of you who may not be familiar with Argentina, I'm sure all of you have heard about Evita. Evita, the famous first lady of Argentina. Well, it was her husband, General Perón, who was president for a long time back in the 1950s, I think 40s and 1950s. Sort of a heavy-handed kind of guy. He ran the country pretty tough, and he was the one who created all of these socialist policies that have been so damaging to Argentina. And these socialist policies have basically put the country where it is. Too many government bureaucrats, too many regulations, too many controls, labor rules that are completely silly and ridiculous, and pension reforms that are totally need to change. And the bottom line is this: the country has to be reformed, and Milei is committed to that, and he seems to be on track to do it. Now, I will write in my post, I have a post about this coming out tomorrow, and I say that there's one big winner and one big loser. The loser here is Perón, or the policies that Perón put in place over the years that simply have not worked, and who were policies that were really rejected last night by the people of Argentina. The big winner, well, there's two big winners. One is the people of Argentina, of course, but the other big winner is U.S.-Argentina relations. Because one of the good things that President Trump did, and Marco Rubio, Secretary Rubio, deserves a lot of credit here, is to support these governments like Milei in Argentina, like the new government in Bolivia, like the new government in Paraguay, like the new government in Ecuador, the government in El Salvador, these center-right governments that are popping up. Hopefully one will pop up in Venezuela soon, and hopefully in Cuba as well, where these governments, Colombia as well, where these new governments, these new leaders are beginning to realize that you have to have better relations with the United States, more economic prosperity, and more security. Because the narcos are not just a threat to the people who consume drugs in the United States, they're an even bigger threat to the sovereignty of many of these countries. So you're seeing more and more countries move in that direction with the support of the Trump administration. And again, Secretary Rubio is really the factor here. And I think that's a very smart thing. So that's the big winner in these elections, as well as the people of Argentina. But the big winner is the policy that the United States has been following down in Latin America, endorsing and supporting these center-right governments that I believe are doing good things for the hemisphere and creating the kind of pro-U.S. governments that are going to end up creating more prosperity for the people of many of these countries. I mean, what just happened in Bolivia was great. We talked about this last week with Maylene Salavarria, who I think is going to be joining us probably after she gets back from her trip. I'm sure we'll talk about what happened in Argentina. But I mean, I don't know, just great news coming out of Argentina. I would simply say to other countries in Latin America, take a look at what just happened in Argentina, take a look at Paraguay, take a look at Bolivia, take a look at Ecuador, and take a look at El Salvador. I mean, El Salvador was a country overrun by murder and violence 5 years ago. And today it's very safe. And why is it safe? Because they've taken a very tough posture against the criminals and the criminal elements. So anyway, great day. I thought it was fabulous. As I say, I didn't know what to expect from Argentina because I had no way of knowing. I mean, I don't keep up with it in the kind of detail that obviously I would if I was living there. But the information was great. And what I did Sunday night is, for a little bit, I tuned in on the internet, some coverage from Argentina, just trying to get the local flavor. And I thought the most interesting remark that a man on the street type interview came up with was, there was a man in Buenos Aires. They asked him, why did you vote for Milei? I mean, why did you want Milei to stay in? And he said, because we don't want to go back. And then he cited the example of, for example, the other day they had some bad rainstorms, and apparently, everything is clogging up, the infrastructure stinks. And he was saying, yeah, that's the way it's been. We want change. We don't want to go back to that type of Argentina. And I think to me, that's the best answer of all. They don't want to go back to where they came from. And if Milei can keep this up, now again, sometimes, leaders can make mistakes. So if he can keep this up and continue to deliver and make Argentina better, I mean, his contribution to Latin America will be way beyond Argentina, because he's clearly having an influence in other countries as well. Just a couple of quick things here to wrap it up. Trump is apparently going to make a deal with China. That's what we're hearing. Now, we'll know more about that in a couple of days, but he's apparently about ready to make a deal with China, which I think would be tremendous for everybody. And there's a lot of early voting going on in New York City, again, from what we're hearing. Who does that benefit? I don't know. If I had to take a bet, it probably benefits Mandani. And the reason I say that is because he seems to have all the energy. And usually people who vote early are the ones who with a little bit more energy and desire. So we'll see. We'll see how it all works out. But in roughly a week's time, we'll know who the new mayor of New York City is going to be. And I hate to tell you, but I have a feeling I know who's going to win. And it's not going to be good for Argentina, or not going to be good for anybody, but especially not going to be good for Mexico City. It would be nice if the people of New York would know a little bit more about Argentina history, and they would understand how a lot of that socialism just doesn't work. On this day in history, one of my favorite baseball moments, Game 7 of the 1991 World Series, Minnesota Twins, Atlanta Braves. The game went 10 innings, 0-0 for 10 innings, and the Twins won the game in the bottom of the 10th, 1-0, and the World Series as well. Fantastic game. I remember it quite well. Man, what a great night that was to watch baseball. Game 7, 1991 World Series. Thank you for listening. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas. And again, congratulations to the people of Argentina. I was thinking about taking my wife dancing tango this weekend. Maybe I can persuade her to go dancing tango, and we can dance a little bit like they do in Argentina. They love tango down there. That's their favorite music. So maybe we'll celebrate. Maybe I'll get some of my friends together. We'll go out dancing tango to celebrate the good news from Argentina. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not promising you, but I'm gonna suggest the idea to my wife and see how she takes it. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later. This is Silvio Canto in Dallas.